What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, I've noticed a pattern emerging with some of you radicalist boxing fans. So, the fanatical fan groups, the groupies, the dick riders, I've noticed a pattern, and that pattern is very simple to follow. So, that's why I'm making this video. Some people say, Ego, why talk to the casual fans? Why are you making these videos? You know why? Because it's my fucking channel. And I do what I want when I want. If you don't like it, don't click on it. You know what I mean? I give you guys as much notice as humanly possible to cue you in as far as what I will be talking about in each video. So if I'm talking about Amir Khan, if I'm talking about Mayweather, if I'm talking about Pacquiao, Canelo, Edeslani Lara, etc., there's a title. If you don't like the name of the title, or you think I've previously showed X amount of bias towards a fighter, don't watch this shit. I don't put a gun to your head and be like, yeah, you go watch my video. Like, you know what I mean? Don't watch it. Unsubscribe. I don't give a fuck. It ain't gonna stop my growth. Anyway, one of the tricks that I've noticed is basically you're a fan of a fighter to the point where you're supremely biased and that fighter can do no wrong. And as a result of it, their opponents, you always shit on them until you need to use that opponent as a barometer. Case in point, and the reason this is really coming up is because the reemergence of the Pactards and not just them, because I've noticed it elsewhere, but recently I've seen a lot of this, what I'm going to be talking about. So with Pacquiao, most of you motherfuckers that are diehard Pactards to the point where you can see no logic, you won't listen to anyone else's standpoint or point of view, etc., and you won't look at it objectively. Most of you guys did not give a fuck about Timothy Bradley. Really, you didn't give a flying fuck about him. You said he was garbage. You said he would headbutt people. You said he had feather fist and he was pillow fisted. You hate him. He lost to Pacquiao the first time. He's a fake champion. You said he lost his last 3 fights. You said he lost to Pacquiao, lost to Ruslan, he lost to Juan Manuel Marquez. He was garbage. He couldn't hurt a fly. These are the types of comments that some of you guys were leaving on my videos. And again, I have a good memory. And as soon as Pacquiao beats this guy who you guys have like drugged through the mud and otherwise tar and feathered, now that Pacquiao beats him, he's somebody. You're like, what? Pacquiao just beat the pound for pound number 2 guy. He's the pound for pound top rated Timothy Bradley. Now, I agree with you. Timothy Bradley is a supreme fighter. He's a great fighter. He's a solid resume. However, the thing I don't agree with, which is the purpose of this video, is to expose some of you fanatical fans and your bullshit tricks, is how come you guys weren't giving Bradley that type of credit before, because even before the Pacquiao fight in the rematch, Bradley was somebody. He was still a worthy champion. And the Ruslan fight was close. Ruslan, the reason he lost was similar to the reason why I think Bradley lost in the second Pacquiao fight. Started off good in the first half, let a lot of those middle rounds go, and Ruslan came on strong in the last 12th round, I would say. So he finished pretty strong too. So it was a close fight. But he let too many rounds go in the middle, just like Timothy Bradley started off strong. He capped off the rounds 11 to 12. He looked better. But in those middle rounds, he let a lot of those rounds go. The end. And you guys didn't give Bradley that type of respect, that type of recognition. You were like, oh, he sucks. He's feather-fisted. He's a fake paper champion, and he should have been lost, and all kinds of stuff. So it's funny to me to see this type of trickery that you guys try to pull. But to the real boxing fans like myself, we see through that bullshit. Another example of this, Canelo versus Edeslani Lara. Great fight. I gave Canelo the utmost respect for taking this fight. We know Canelo's a rock star. We know he has a fan base and he has a lot of support. And a lot of people like Canelo. I like Canelo. I like Lara. I've even admittedly told you guys that earlier on, I thought they were guiding Canelo perhaps a little bit too slow. They were saying he's the dude, he's the future of boxing, yet they were putting him in against washed up 40-year-olds like a Shane Mosley, Carlos Baldemir, Kermit Cintron was later in his career and hadn't looked spectacular, or they were putting him in with undersized guys, Josecito Lopez, Matthew Hatton, people like that. Since the Austin Trout fight, it's been full speed ahead. Maybe he proved to his handlers that he can hold his own, and they built up more confidence in their fighter, or figured like now is the time. Whatever reason, his schedule has been tough since then. So I give him the utmost respect, because it looks like Canelo is one of the fighters that are in the position to, he's a megastar, so he's in the position to kind of steer his career and get a handful of names and pick the person he wants. And unless you're Mayweather, unless you're Pacquiao, unless you're Cotto, you'll probably take what Canelo offers, because it'll be your biggest payday. And he's the A side, unless he's going in against another A side opponent like Mayweather or Pacquiao. So props to Canelo for taking the fight. However, some of the Canelo fans, Edeslandi Lara has been calling out Canelo for at least 2 years. I don't know the exact dates, but I know it's been at least 2 years. He's like, Canelo, Canelo, Canelo. He was fighting lesser competition, still calling out Canelo, saying, I want Canelo, I want Canelo. A lot of you guys were making excuses. Edeslandi Lara is a bum. He sucks. He hasn't fought nobody. He'll get destroyed by Canelo. Then Canelo loses to Mayweather. Now he has to start back from square one, or he has to rebuild. And he fought Angulo, looked very dominant in that performance. And he hopped on stage after the Angulo victory. Edeslandi Lara hopped on stage, and you guys badmouth him for it. You're like, he's stupid, he's an idiot. My boy Nello made him look so stupid. He looks stupid. Now Lara gets the fight that he's been requesting for the last 2 years. And all of a sudden, it's back to being a great fight. It's a good fight. It's a competitive fight. But some of you guys were the same ones saying Edeslandi Lara doesn't deserve it. It makes no sense. It makes no business sense. It doesn't make money. He's a nobody. Now all of a sudden he's selected, and it's the greatest fight in the world, and you're giving Canelo all the props in the world, which he deserves those props for taking on that type of schedule and taking on this type of opponent. However, back to what I said in the first portion of this video, it's not the fact that you're giving Canelo props because he deserves props, because this is a good career-defining fight, especially if you can win it in his young legacy. The problem being is you guys were making excuses for why the fight wasn't happening. So as Canelo avoided and didn't fight for whatever reason, I'm not saying Canelo was scared, because if you're going to go in against Mayweather, the #1 pound for pound guy, you're going to fight a hard puncher after a loss like Angulo. You're going to fight an undefeated fighter like Austin Trout. To me, that shows balls. That shows that you are probably hungry. But whatever it was, the network, his handlers, Chepo, whoever, didn't put him in there with Lara. And Lara had been kind of like knocking at the door. So for whatever reason, it didn't happen. And you guys were making excuses for why it didn't happen and why it shouldn't happen. Now that the time has come where Lara's done enough and proved enough and made a big enough statement and hopped on the stage and all that, to the point where the fight is actually transpiring and we're going to see it in July, you guys are praising Canelo for it. So again, he deserves the praise, but he didn't deserve the bad mouthing, and that's Edeslandi Lara earlier on. He was always worthy. You know what I mean? He has Paul Williams, a tough fight with Carlos Molina. Even if you thought he lost the Molina fight, you got to give the man props for taking on Molina, because Molina, especially at that time, is a difficult fight for anybody because he's hard to look good against. Lara also has the Angulo win. Just some solid like C+ fighters, and he stays pretty active. You know what I mean? So it's just funny to see these mind games and this little bit of trickery that the fans try to pull, and that's where you badmouth and shit on fighter B when your fighter A, doesn't fight him, and then all of a sudden, if your fighter chooses him, or if your fighter beats that person, all of a sudden they're the end-all be-all, and you're on their dick like, Pacquiao, he's the #2 pound for pound guy because he beat Timothy Bradley. But shit, I thought Timothy Bradley wasn't anything. I thought he was a feather-fisted bum. You know what I mean? Like some of you guys were saying. Now all of a sudden Pacquiao beats him, and he's the dude. You know what I mean? He's right behind Mayweather, and you know what I mean? It's just funny. So you badmouth him when you're talking about Pacquiao beating Bradley in the first fight, you badmouth him after the Ruslan, you badmouth him after the Marquez, and when Pacquiao beats him in the rematch, and I think Pacquiao did beat him, so I don't know, some of you guys make up shit for me too, which is weird. I've said Pacquiao, I've been on record, listen to my videos, I've been on record saying I feel Pacquiao won both fights, but they were close. Yet some of you guys were like, just give Pacquiao credit. He beat Bradley. Like, when did I say he didn't beat Bradley? Like, you guys are dumb. And then again, the same thing with Canelo, with Edeslani Lara. You shit on Lara until the time comes. Now they're fighting. Now it's a great fight. Now Canelo gets props for choosing Lara. Why would he get props for choosing Lara when some of you guys were saying that Lara was garbage to begin with? And he had no chin and all kinds of extra shit. So it just doesn't, your argument loses validity because it's not consistent. And that's the whole purpose of this video. If you gave Lara his props and his fair shake and said, Lara is a slick, good Cuban fighter and he has a solid resume, then I would understand it. But when you dog somebody out and you call them horrible and say they're nothing in the sport of boxing, then when they're selected or when they're beaten by your fighter, you shouldn't give them any props because according to you, they were never worth it to begin with. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.